Hello everybody, welcome to more Political Excess. I'm just about finished with my deep dives. I hope everyone is enjoying those. But this time I want to do an overview of different types of election resources that you might be interested in. I know the polls and the results, those are the main things happening. But some of you might be interested in some other things going on a little bit beneath the surface. So I'm just really quickly going to pull up some different sites that'll show you where to get comprehensive information, just in case you need a little bit of help finding it. So remember, all the links will be down below in the description, but let's start with early voting. So I've got TargetSmart pulled up here. This will show you how many ballots were cast early or absentee. It'll also show you this graph here to compare to 2018 as well as 2020, and it's broken down by party. Over here on the right, you can change the time frame. Right now it is with 12 days to go until the election, but down below you can click and get the final results. And under here, you can switch from national to each state. And down below here, you can switch the demographic. Right now it's on modeled party. But they also have vote frequency, age, race, gender, etc. And then down below here, there's a graph showing you the cumulative totals over time until the election. So it's easy to spend a lot of time on here, but we could also switch over to NBC News. They also have a similar feature. It does say they get their data from TargetSmart, but the presentation here might be a little bit preferable for you. At the top, we're looking at mail-in and early in-person votes cast, and you could toggle between party registration, age, gender, and vote type. And obviously here it shows you each state down below. And there's a few states where data is unavailable. And then down below here, it shows you how many mail-in ballots were requested. So there's a lot here to look at for early voting. My stance is I don't put a lot of weight on early voting numbers. I remember following these votes 2 years ago, and there was just so much speculation. And it was extra complicated due to COVID and the results coming in after the election. But my main reason for not caring a lot about this is these don't tell us any actual results. These are just ballot requests. I understand it's not completely useless, but it's hard to predict exactly how much crossover vote there's going to be on these ballot requests, and it's also hard to predict how much vote there's going to be on Election Day. We know that Republicans tend to turn out more on Election Day, but in my opinion, there are just too many different variables to draw any confident conclusion from these results. It's easier to look at Democrats or Republicans requesting more ballots or returning them in one state or another, but I would rather just wait for the actual results to come in until I know what's definitely happening. But let's move on to ballot measures. I did a whole video on this back in the summer, but Ballotpedia has a really great resource to get all of the ballot measures in all the different states all in one place. And if you scroll down here, you can look at previous years as well. It has the ballot measures with the most campaign contributions involved. And then if you scroll through here, you'll get to see them all for every single state. There's a ton of information here. It would take way too much time to even go over part of it. But every different type of topic will be on the ballot in various states. Ballotpedia has a nice description about each referendum, and you can also click on each of these to get even more detail about the background with the referendum. So I highly recommend looking through these at your particular state, or if there's any notable ballot measures in other states that you're interested in. And I'll also mention this from Larry Sabato. He has a summary of a lot of these ballot measures, since most of them are kind of insignificant. So if you scroll through here, he covers some of the major ones, and for the most part, it's presented in a neutral way, just basically giving you the facts. And again, there's a lot here, so take a look at this if you'd like. Let's move on to the state legislative elections. Those are very important. And again, Ballotpedia has a very comprehensive summary of what's going on with this. It has a map of who controls each chamber, and then here's a table showing the battleground. So these are the chambers that are pretty much up for grabs. They could potentially flip one way or the other. Shows you how many seats are up. And then it has ratings for both chambers from C Analysis and Larry Sabato. So there's 5 pages you can look through here. Of course, you could scroll down and get even further information about primaries and term limits, but a lot of people don't think a lot about their own local legislators. But in some of these states, if one of these chambers flips, it's going to mean divided government, and that'll bring a lot of agendas to a halt. And in other states, it's going to mean one-party control, and there's going to be a lot of agenda that has no brakes on it anymore. So definitely take a look at some of these. But how about endorsements? Well, Ballotpedia has that covered as well. Here are Joe Biden's endorsements. And for this current year, 2022, there's not many Joe Biden endorsements. But they're all on here if you want to take a look, as well as previous years. I think a lot more people are interested in the Donald Trump endorsements. Well, those are definitely on here. This table has a summary of his success rate for the primaries and for the general election. And then it has a table with all of his U.S. Senate endorsements. There's U.S. House endorsements, and there's even state legislative, state executive endorsements, and it also has the source for all of these endorsements as well. And again, there is a lot here. It's easy to spend an hour or two just looking through some of this stuff. But let's move on to the state Supreme Court elections. Again, I did do a video earlier in the year on this topic, and this is another thing that people might not think about as much as the most prominent races. But with state Supreme Court elections, a lot of these judges are up for retention this year, and this map shows us how many of those seats are up. And of course, the table down below shows you additional information, and then down below it has noteworthy elections, as some of these state Supreme Courts are poised to flip one way or the other, and that could have long-lasting impacts on some of these state legislative agendas. And as always, there's plenty more information down below about Supreme Court judges. But here is another site that sums up what's going on in these Supreme Court elections for each state. It's very nice to have a lot of information in one place so you don't have to sift through everything. So all of that information is here. I'm just going to scroll through a little bit. I recommend clicking on the link down below, spending some time on what you're most interested in. And real quickly, how about debates? C-SPAN has a lot of debates in one place. Just get on here and type in debate, sort by date, and then you'll see all of the ones that have happened. Now, there are some that are not on here, and they are on YouTube. Some are not even on YouTube and only on local news outlets. And there's far too many debates for one person to actually watch. I put the links up in most of my deep dives, but of the races I haven't covered, C-SPAN is a great resource to get those debates. And moving on, if you'd like to take a look at all of the congressional redistricting maps, 538 is a great resource for that. I did review every single new congressional map earlier in the year. I recommend watching those videos as well. And finally, if you want some additional election-related tools, we can take a look at Elections Daily. They have a congressional vote tracker, and they have an election shuffler. This will let you shift vote margins and turnout in each county, and that will affect the margin in the state. So it's a lot of fun to tweak certain results to see if one county does a little bit better or a little bit worse, and see how that impacts the overall state. There's also a map database on here to get a lot of 2020 maps in case you want to go back and look at those. And there's a redistricting radar. If you want to take a look at their simulated redistricting maps, you could see what it would be like to have a Republican or a Democrat gerrymander in any of the different states. And there's a poll adjuster. This will let you see how far off the polls were in some recent elections. So get on there and play around with that tool if that's something you'd like to do. So that's a quick overview of an array of different resources for you. That is, if you want to get more information aside from just the typical polls and typical maps. There's a lot more than just these out here, but I just wanted to showcase these particular sites, as I think they have a lot of great information all in one place. It's easy to see, and it's easy to use. Anyway, I will leave it there for now. If you have any other great resources you'd like to share, let me know down below in the comments. And if you enjoyed this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.